This
One
conference
second.
will now be recorded.
All right, so we're going to go over nationwide today. I'm going to start with the TA first because I think it's best that you collect as much information as you can here and then copy it over to their site. For me, the reason is because I never know when I'm going to lose that caller, so I want to grab as much as I can rather than try to figure out what else to ask. And there's a whole lot of jargon going on their form. I happen to know what to skip over, but for those who don't, it can just look chaotic. So as soon as you've determined that this person has a note or wants to create a note or just wants information about a note, I just go to Sell My Note Interview and hit tab. Repeat caller, probably not because they're calling in for the first time for information. At any time that I'm going too fast, just let me know. Just say my name and we'll stop. Okay, so the very first thing that you want to do is determine the relationship to the note. There's going to be people who call in that just want information on how to create a note. We still do the interview for that person. We want to collect as much information about the property or business or the coin that they found in the back of their sock drawer that they want to sell and find out if it has any value or if anyone's willing to make an offer on it. So the way this account scared me at first, but then I started thinking about it just in terms of my own experience with purchasing property. So the way that I look at it is anyone who's looking to either sell their home to a friend or they want to not deal with a bank or a broker, they sell or finance their home. So if you've ever looked on like something like Craigslist where it says buy through owner, that's what this is. So a lot of times it could be someone who's owned a home and they've been renting it and they've built a relationship with the tenant over time. And then now the tenant is like, hey, do you want to sell your home to me? And but my credit isn't great, so would I be able to finance it through you if I give you like $10,000 down and just keep paying monthly payments? Or if you've ever seen like the rent to own ads, things like that. That's who Nationwide is. Nationwide is the person that's then going to take the burden off of the original owner's hands, and then the new owner is now paying Nationwide directly each month. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
so far it is.
Okay. So that's what this is. But that's not only about residential property. Some people have land that they want to sell that maybe they inherited from their parents. Some people have a business that they're going to sell. And again, then there's the callers that are like, hey, do you guys buy coins or a dollar bill that I found? You always say, we consider anything of value. And then you do the interview. Whether or not you got more than their name, phone number, and email is fine if you did not get anything past that, because what you want to do is, okay, let's not. What you want to do is take as much information as you can, and anything that you did not get, you can just put in NA for not applicable and zero where you don't know the dollar amounts. But you always have to complete the first page of the interview, even if they just gave you their first name and nothing else. Even if you have to put declined at decline.com for the email. She is going to send an email each and every time that you send a TA message, and she can't match it to something on their system. So you must always, no matter if you only got their first initial, fill out at the very least the first page of their interview. All right, so again, we're back here. You need to determine who you have on the phone. So another reason that it's important to take it in TA is because they have been kind of slow with getting their IT people to fix certain glitches on their site. So there are certain interviews that when you get to like the fourth page is going to give you an internal server error message. And now at least you've captured all the information in TA and you can copy and paste it onto an email to her and say, hey, Lourdes, I did this interview and um, it did not let me submit it. It said that there was an internal server error message. So I'm sending you the details here, and then you copy and paste the TA message into the email. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go through the different options of note relationship. It's either the note owner, the person looking to sell the note. So they were the original owner of the property, business, whatever they're selling. executor, inheritor, the son of a rich person who inherited property, home, business, whatever. Relative. It could be, hey, my boyfriend's mom um has a note that she wants to sell, and I just wanted some information on how we would go about doing that. That's this person. Lender, investor. There's people, that have people that manage their finances. So that person might be the one calling in to see what he could do for his client, and that's who the lender investor would be. Note maker. This is the person that calls in and just wants information on how to create a note, or they'll say, I have a property that I'd like to create a note for. I just don't know how to structure it, so I was hoping you guys can help me with that. Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's this guy. Attorney, CPA, that speaks for itself. You may have an attorney, or a CPA is an accountant that may call in, a financial planner, or some other sort of professional advisor that's calling to find out information on how he can help his clients sell their property or business or whatever. Note broker. Note broker, find or refer. They'll tell you from the jump that they're a note broker, so you'll know to select that. If they want to become a broker, what you do is on the call handling info page, hit Control F and put in broker, because we don't do the interview for those guys. When a broker is calling, you just take their name, their phone, and their email and tell them to go to this link, which is basically their website /brokerregistration.cfm. They have to fill out a broker registration form so that Nationwide can consider it. In that case, you do not have to do the interview. You just send TA message with the name, phone, and email and let them know that you directed the caller to fill out the broker registration form online. Everybody follow?
Yes.
Okay. The other person that might call in and have questions is the new buyer of the home. So it could be the tenant that's been paying rent, and now he and the owner have decided that they will do a sale, but the owner is lazy and says, I'm not going to do the legwork. You figure out what company would take over this thing, because I'm 75 years old. I'm not looking to finance for the next 30 years. I don't know how long I'm going to make it. I want a lump sum. So the tenant might say, "Okay, I'll find a company that would buy the note from you once you create it with me." So that's when it's the person buying, the new owner or the potentially new owner. Then you select that. Okay, so we're going to go back here because usually it's the note owner. All right, so I'm not going to go through every detail. Obviously, collect name, phone, email, find out if they have multiple notes. Mailing address is the address where they would want any documentations that we may have to send to them if we decide to purchase that note. Original amount. The original amount is going to be the amount that they finance. That means the amount after the down payment. So just to make numbers easy, let's just say the property or business is being sold for $100,000. The guy is willing to put $10,000 down. They're financing $90,000.
Wait, what was that? The guy was willing to put down 10 grand?
Yeah. So the cash down payment.
Beforehand.
Correct.
Okay.
So what Nationwide wants to know is how much of a note are we taking on? They're taking on a $90,000 note,
right,
because this guy paid
okay,
$10,000 down and the full price was $100,000. So the way that it's worded is tricky. They could have just made
right,
it easier. This shouldn't have been the first option, but the way Destiny programmed this is to match the order that it's in on their system. It really should have
okay.
been full sale price at the top, down payment at the bottom, and then you just subtract and put it here.
Okay.
But
So
instead
that's
it's
where I get confused.
out of order. Okay.
So like if they're calling in and like you said they have coins, see that's where it throws me off, because if it says yes, the owner of a property, well, are you talking about like physical property, or are you just saying property of possession?
Possession.
Okay. Okay, that's where I got thrown off. And then
Okay, but I'm
this,
glad you said that,
well,
because with a coin, there's not going to be a down payment or any of these things.
right,
So
right,
what
and
you
that's where I
do,
think I get frustrated.
right? So what you do is you just put 0, and then
Okay.
all the way down here in TA, you're going to say something like caller has, I think they're called like a star coin, these coins that have value.
Okay.
But let's just say it says caller has a star coin that he says was appraised at $10,000. Okay, so then I filled out the form. Well, I say I filled out the first page of the form as best I could with relevant information. Thanks. That's it.
So you don't ask any questions then through that.
You skip over anything that you know doesn't is not relevant and just put in
Okay.
zero and just put in
Okay.
zero or NA because it doesn't apply. So
Okay.
but then at the end, and let me share my second screen so I can show you what I mean. Can everybody see the nationwide form now?
No.
No.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what you would do here in a case like that is you
Mhm.
just fill out name.
Okay.
They are the note owner. That's the
Okay.
closest choice.
Okay.
Their phone number, their email, their mailing address,
Okay.
original amount. Then okay, so zero here, but amount that they claim that they think that the coin is worth here because that's the full sale price. Zero here. There's no down payment. Now, none of these things apply. So you're going to go
And that's where I
all
get
the way to the
confused.
bottom and put other,
Other.
not real estate,
Okay.
not land, not a business, and click
Okay.
that. Now, type of note, don't even bother asking them this. Just select the first one because none of that applies to them. And then hit complete
Okay.
call. Once you hit
Okay.
complete call, it's going to be that box with the details where you're going to paste the TA message. And when she reads that, she's going to see this here note that you put. Let's go back to the first screen now. She's going to see this note here at the bottom that says caller has star coin. So then she's going to be like, oh, that's why it's all zero and BS because this is a coin. And by the
And
way, more times than not, they just ignore those. They're like, no, we're not buying that.
and if they refuse to discuss how much the property is worth over the phone,
Zero.
zero. Okay.
And then you
And just
put down
indicate in
here,
TA.
correct, all the way
Okay.
back down here. I asked the caller information about the value of the property, how much it costs, how much they want for anything that they did not wish to discuss or any detail that they discussed that is not a question on the form. You're going to put here because sometimes they give you details that is not a question on the form, but you still want Nationwide to know, hey, by the way, he mentioned blah, 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 and you're going to
Right.
put it in here.
Okay.
That's giving them as much information as you got from the phone. Now, there's going to be the people. Oh, let's just finish this to see if there's anything here that you guys don't understand. Okay, so this is self-explanatory. You're going to discuss what type of property it is or what it is they're selling. Is it a commercial building? Yes. Is it an office space? Is it a restaurant? Is it a gas station? There's different types of commercial property. If none of these apply, you're going to click commercial other. Is it a mobile home? If it is, does it have utilities attached? Does everybody know what utilities attached means?
Yes.
Utilities attached, for anybody who doesn't know and who may be seeing this recording later, utilities attached means that this mobile home is equipped with the ability to connect electricity, water, utilities. Anything that you could think about as having a utility bill, you want to say that because there are mobile homes that do not. So that means that has to be installed, and Nationwide has to consider that when they consider whether or not they want to purchase that because that's money that needs to be spent. You can go through these options. Residential vacant land with utilities. Okay, so sometimes people have just land that nothing has been built on, but they've already had the electric company and the water people come to hook everything up ready for a mobile home, ready for a home to be built on the land, and all they have to do is hook up their services. But some land doesn't even have that at all, so that would be unimproved land with no utilities. Any other type of real estate, like it could be, I inherited a resort, would go there. People that have maybe they have, well, what else would be under real estate other than like something that has multiple space. The only thing I can think of is a resort because I just had that the other day on a call. Um, oh, a ranch. People that somebody the other day I did an interview for someone who had a ranch where people can come and vacation or like a bed and breakfast, things like that. Um, I think Chelsea the other day had a deeder contract. That's what this would be.
Oh, what one?
The structural, legal or contractual statement. So what that is I lent my friend $50,000, and they own a Jaguar that's worth 100,000, and that's what's securing the note. So the deal on the note is that if they don't pay me the $50,000, I get their Jaguar. But now I don't want to deal with this note because they keep paying me late, and I don't want to keep running after them for my monthly payment. So could you guys take this over? That's a legal contract between two people. And so Nationwide would consider that because they're like, hey, the Jaguar's worth $100,000. That's a value. Sometimes people have a note on a car. Then you would select vehicle. And then we have the people that want to sell their finger. So you're going to select other. It does not apply to anything above. I'm joking. People don't want to sell their finger. But I'm just saying people call it the weirdest things and think that they're going to get money for it. So that's when you select other. And you still treat them just like you would everybody else. And you still make them think that it's possible. A lot of times, maybe 7 out of 10 calls, they're like, I just want to know what percentage you're willing to give me, blah, 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 blah. You don't say things like, well, I have to do an interview in order for you to know that. I trick them into thinking that I'm about to ask them some questions, and at the end of that conversation, I'm going to give them a percentage or dollar amount. I go, oh, yeah, sure. Let me just have your name and your first and last name. Okay, and your phone number in case you get disconnected. Excellent. What's your email address? Okay, great. So, so that I can give you an idea, can you tell me how much? And you don't have to go in order. Just think of it in a conversational format. And when you do enough of these, you know what questions are on here. You could just jump around. I'll say, so what is the current value of the property? Okay, and so when you do go to sell it, do you have an idea of how much interest rate you're going to charge? Okay, excellent. And about how many sorry, I keep getting pop-ups. And about how much do you think you're going to ask for the down payment? Okay, excellent. You see what I'm doing? I'm making him think that I'm asking him questions so that I can give him a dollar amount right after. He doesn't realize I'm filling out the form.
Right.
And then what do you say at the end? Yeah.
At the end, I say, okay, now that I've collected this, because I'm not an underwriter, I'm going to send this over. Let me give you our fax number so you can send me a copy of that note, and I'm going to have our underwriting team contact you within 24 hours with a response. And the response usually comes by email first, so do look out for that. If you feel that you haven't heard from them, then the email that has the file ID number in the subject line, which you're about to get in a few minutes, just call us in with that file ID number and ask for the status, and we'll get you over to an underwriter.
Is that somewhere on here? Like at the very bottom, like could we put a tab in that says, just so you know, like to remind you to like give them the fax number, or is it somewhere?
It is. It's at the bottom
like
here because
I would love that verbiage on the call handling.
On call handling, okay. So we didn't want to clog that. So what I created was a Sell My Note interview script page,
Okay.
and it is here. You see it?
Okay.
They can either fax it, they can send it by email.
Okay, so we do need a copy of the note.
We do need a copy of the note because
Okay.
we need to and if they're like, well, I don't feel comfortable sending it over until you give me a dollar amount. And I say, I understand your point of view, but you have to understand ours too. We're looking to consider to purchase this property. We need to make sure you're the rightful owner.
Okay. Now, back up to where it says interest rate. I thought that was what interest rate they were paying for the whatever loan they have.
So when the note owner is calling to try to get a quote, that he's the one getting paid on that property. So what interest rate is he charging his tenant currently for the monthly payment?
Oh Lord. Okay.
And really, I'm saying tenant to give you guys a better visual of who is paying on the other end. In fact, that tenant is the new owner. The guy on the phone is the seller. So the new owner, if the note has already been created, the actual owner is the person paying on the note, which is the person living at that house. The guy on the phone is the seller, the old owner. Once they've signed that note between them two, he's no longer the owner. He's now the seller of the note. But the owner of the property is the guy that makes payments every month. So what we want to know is, how much are you charging in interest every month on that note? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep going here. Term lane. So when they create a note, they decide how long they want to have this contract between them two. The guy may have been 75 at the time that he sold the property, and he's like, "Look, I got another good 3 years in me. So I'm gonna sell this property to you through me and not through the bank, but you need to pay me within 3 years."
Okay, so this is the term for what he wants to set up with the new person, not what his current term was.
Correct.
See, that's where I was confused. I thought this was all information on what he currently had in place.
No.
I did
So
too.
here's where you pull up your calculator now. So now they created a note for 3 years, which means that the seller wanted to only do a 3-year contract. That's 36 months. Then there's a question somewhere down the line. Here it is, remaining payments. First, you're going to find out, okay, how many payments? They don't always know this number offhand, so you might have to do a little math with them. He might say, well, I sold this property in May of last year. Okay, now we're in October, so now you're calculating June, July, August, September, October. They've paid for 5 months. So they've made 5 payments, which is you're going to put here, 5 payments, and we don't need a calculator for that. Obviously, there's 31 payments left over because 36 minus 5 is 31. That's how many payments. The reason this is important, Nationwide wants to know how long they're going to be dealing with this person now. That means they have 31 payments to collect. And that's fine for them if this is someone who has good credit, typically pays on time. They're like, cool, we'll take it on. This guy pays on time and he has 700 credit score. That's not a big risk for us. And plus, we're now getting that interest rate. And that's why it becomes a good deal to Nationwide. So that's why this question exists. Have all payments been made on time? They want to consider that. If they do pay late, has it been less than 30 days, or are they procrastinators that pay you 2 months later? So on and so forth. And then you're going to get the property address. You can skip over all of this. This is just something that Destiny put here because they want a little information about what you heard on the call. And if you need to fish for questions, and she put questions here for you to fish for. But you can skip over that. I'll tell you what I do. Information about the property. I always do the same thing because it's usually a residence. If it's a business, you guys can just fly with it. But you can say, this is a 3-2 home, which is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom home, that is approximately 2,400 square feet. It's 2 levels, and caller stated it needs about 10,000 in renovations. That's what they want to know. They want to know, what are we buying here? What are we needing to spend? Is this going to be a good business deal for us? Is this going to be profitable for us? That's what they want to know. Then there's information on, you know what? We're down at the bottom of TA, so I'm going to flip my screen so that we can go to the actual form and get those questions from there. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do continue. Oh, wait. So let's go so that she knows this is the training 555 555 5555. Training at, again with the typos. So is there anything while I'm filling out all of this that anybody feels I went too fast over? By the way, look, this is how you do the NA. NA, they didn't give you the information, so just NA and A. It'll accept that for city and state, and zeros for the zip code. 0, 0, 0.
So what if there's not a tenant in the home?
Meaning what? He's selling a note, then there's no note. He doesn't, usually
Okay.
people have a note because they have a deal between him and someone else.
Okay. Okay.
Um, if it's a note that they inherited, I'm trying to think of a time that someone would have a note and no tenant.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just say that's the case. Then this is an investment property,
Okay.
and we're gonna go with. Hold on a second. There's still the note owner,
Right.
and
But
then
then
where's
do
the
you
drop
ask about
down?
the interest and things like that?
No, you could put zero there. So anything that doesn't apply, that's where you would put NA or zero, and then explain why. So in TA at the bottom, you would say this guy has a note, but he doesn't have a buyer yet. So he wants to know how to structure the note. And so then you're going to put in that he is a note maker. He's making a note,
Okay.
but he doesn't
I have
Wait, he
have
doesn't have a buyer yet?
right. He doesn't have anyone that he's selling that property to yet.
And
So
I have seen, and that's because I never really understood. The last call I took, I think the guy had a tenant. It was like a freaking mobile home on land. And that one, obviously, the script fits perfect. What tenant's name? Where do they work? Had they made late payments? So that one made sense. But then I had a caller before that where I think somebody died and they had an investment property and it was between him and like his two sisters or something. But he never mentioned anything about a buyer.
Okay. So in a case like that, it's still a single family, but owner uses it as a rental.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that they have tenants yet.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So let me show you something else. That's the same here. Sometimes they have a commercial building that doesn't necessarily have an actual business set up in it. It's just a commercial space where someone can install a business in.
Okay, that was the guy that I had. Okay.
Yeah, so that's commercial building other. Now, it could be someone who lives in the home that they're looking to structure a note for. So that's here too. It could be their second home too. It could be their beach house. Trying to think of other instances. Here's the I loan money, by the way, to someone. All right. So now let's move on to the next screen. All right. So here, how long did they own the property? You know, that's self-explanatory. What year? They may not be sure of the month. That's fine. Any loan amount they may still owe. You want to ask them. You know, I try not to go verbatim because nobody wants us to be speaking to a robot. So I say, do you still owe any money on that property? It's the same thing as this wording here. And they'll be like, oh, no, it's free and clear. And if you do, how much? Oh, no, that's not what this is asking. This is asking how much did you pay when you purchased that property? And, you know, a lot of times it's way less than what they're looking to sell it for because they've had it for years. So they may not owe anything on it, and they paid $30,000 years ago. What's the current value? So has it been appraised any recently? How much is the current value? That's how I ask this question, and then they'll tell you, oh, it's actually been valued at 150,000. Great. Continue.
And those questions are on the TA, right?
Yep, every single one.
Okay.
We did
I
it verbatim.
make sure.
Yeah, so
So
you could do the interview there and then just copy and paste it over. Get the guy off the phone.
That's what I thought.
Yep, you can just get the
Okay,
person off the phone and then copy and paste over.
Okay.
All right. Continue. Here we are with the interest rate, the dollar amount of each payment. Okay, and how much is the new owner paying you monthly now? And then they'll tell you. So let's just say it's 5% interest. They're paying me $1,100 a month. Original number of months on loan. Okay, so that's where the 36 in TA was. How many payments? We had said 5, I think. So that left them with 31 payments. A balloon payment. Does everybody know what a balloon payment is?
Yeah.
A balloon
No.
payment. Okay, so a balloon payment is like a component of that note that says that every 5 years, let's just say it was a 60-month term, which means it's a 5 year term, right? But on the third year, you need to give me another lump sum because I'm not trying to get paid forever. So in 5 years, we expect you to fix your credit and try to go get a bank loan where you're gonna have to pay us $10,000. That's a balloon payment. So yes, you can pay us 1,100 a month, but in 3 years we want a lump sum of 10,000, and then you can continue with the 1,100. That's a balloon payment. So you can say, so did you construct a balloon payment clause in your note? And they'll tell you yes or no. More times than not, they didn't because they didn't even know that existed. Okay. Here's where you indicate if all payments have been made on time or not, and then you continue.
Okay, so what happens if you click complete call that was down there at the bottom?
You get that box that wants you to paste a TA message. It means that you're done with the interview. And you can do if you can do that. You can do that if you completed the call, meaning the caller was like, you know what, I'm done with all of these questions. That's it, complete call. But you grabbed as much as you could.
Okay. And I think I did that once before, and then she was like, well, why didn't you complete the call? Or why didn't you go?
That's why, because you always have to hit continue. So long as you still have the questions rolling, hit continue.
Okay.
Now, for people who didn't even make it past like the third question, you're still going to do the phone, the name, phone, and email. And even if the email was declined at decline.com, but you still got the name and the phone number, you're still filling out the first page and then complete call and explain at the bottom. No matter what, that first page, and then you hit complete call and then explain to her, listen, this guy didn't make it past his name.
Okay. Now, for instance, so say I bought my home, and say my monthly payment's $1,000, and my interest rate when I signed up was 8%, and then you're going to come in and rent this home for me, and you're making the payments that are $1,000 plus the 8% interest.
Right, because you're the new owner, and those are the terms that the seller gave to you.
Okay, so you're essentially taking over whatever I had in place.
Correct.
Okay, all right, that makes
sense. So where that applies is where I just asked, do you still owe anything? The only time that what you're saying would be true is if that guy still owes the bank money for that property. So that's what that was where that question was. Do you still owe money on this property? And how much do you owe the bank for it? Okay, so now we're down here to now we're getting to the property information. Now we want to know what the address is. You know, all of this stuff is public record. So Nationwide may not believe everything that you said on this form, and they might want to go do a little Googling and check this property and be like, yeah, okay, I'm seeing in public record your house is worth nothing. So you're going to put in the property address. Here's where you're going to give, where I showed you in TA, the property information, where it's like it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. It's 2,400 square feet, blah, 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 blah. That's where this would go. The history between the seller and the buyer. Was this a tenant of yours? Is this a friend of yours? Or was there no relationship at all? They might be like, oh, no, I put an ad out on Craigslist that I was going to sell my home through owner financing, and he answered my ad. Whatever. However he found that new owner, you're going to put it here. Now you're going to ask, okay, and what's the name of the new owner of the home? Okay, great. Do you know anything about where they work or if they have any assets? You're going to put that here. Did you happen to get their credit score at the time of the sale? You're going to put that there. And now, is there a second person? Do they have a spouse that's also on that note? You're going to put that there. Same thing with the spouse's employment and asset history, credit history. Now here, you're only going to put in an address if they currently don't live in that home. Maybe they bought the property to rent it out to someone else themselves. Maybe they didn't buy it to live in it. And if that's the case, what is their actual address? But if they do live there, you can skip over that, and then you click submit.
If they don't have the credit score, what do we put? NA?
0.
0.
No, you could just leave it blank. So let's
okay.
put in training. They live in Training City, and they live in NA State, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And what else is required? Training. and you'll see that it will let you submit the interview here. Now we're here. This is what I mean by scary stuff. I feel like this about our TA, and that's why I like to study accounts when we first get them, because I'm like, I'm not looking to get confused when I'm trying to answer 500 calls to read all of this. So I just skip to what I already know because I've seen this so many times that I can just do that. I'm going right here. So if we do give an offer on your note, do you have any use in mind for the cash that you would be receiving from us? They'll be like, yeah, I'm thinking about investing in another property, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. I cut them off, but politely. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. So you do have a use in mind. Now, we have a program. That's what this is now. If you need only part of the cash now, would you like to learn about how you might sell only part of your note for a better price? They're going to be like, what? Okay, so the way that I word it is in human form, in layman's terms. So we have a program where if you don't need the entire amount now, we can give you the amount that you need right away, and then we can pay you off over time for the remainder of the amount, and you'll end up getting more for it than your asking price. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just say the guy is like, because we're going to ask here how much cash they would need right away. Let's just say that Nationwide does they evaluate the note and they're like, all right, this is worth $100,000. But what if we only gave you $20,000 now, and then the remainder $80,000 we pay you over time, but now we're paying an interest rate on that $80,000 to you, so you'll end up with $120,000 at the end. Are you interested in learning about a program like that? They might be like, you know what, I don't need all 100,000 right now. What I do need, which is this question, is 20,000 up front because I got some bills to pay, and then you guys can give me some monthly money for the next 10 years. I'm cool with that. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. How soon are you looking to sell? That's a pretty clean cut, direct question. So just find out if they want it immediately, 1 to 3 months, 3 to 12 months. And you know what, by the way, because of timing, I don't let them think. I give them their options. I'm like, how soon are you looking to sell? Immediately, 1 to 3 months, 3 to 12 months. You'll get a quicker answer that way. They'll be like, 1 to 3 months is fine. Okay, great. Next question. All right, so that wraps up the interview. I just have a couple more questions for you, so that we could put it here on your profile. Have you ever sold a note before? Yes or no? How many notes do you own now? Oh, just this one. Okay, great. All right, so, here's the server error. Good thing we got it all in TA, so we can email the details to Lourdes instead. Okay, so then what really happens if you don't get this internal server error message is you get the box where you're going to paste the entire TA message, which is it just says, please enter any additional comments that you may have, is what the box says. And our additional comments is the paste of TA. So now I'm going to flip back to the first screen because I'm going to show you what the closing should be, and then we're done with this training.
The questions that you were just going over are the same things on the TA.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to go to this page I created. It's all my note interview script. You guys can have that because basically what I did was a guide. You see? Which is also in the same order as the form online. So it's like the shorter version of the TA form. All right, so now we're here. All right, so the last thing is we're here. We're going to need a copy of the closing documents and a copy of the note. HUD, the HUD statement is the same thing. What other account do we need a HUD statement on? First Choice. So a HUD statement is basically a document that shows the transfer of ownership. So if they're like, what's a HUD statement? The document that shows that the transfer of ownership. That's the easiest way of saying it because then they're like, oh, okay, I know what it is. Basically, we need documents that show the sale price, the down payment. That's all on the note. So a copy of the note and your HUD statement would be great. I can give you these two options. You can either fax them in or you can email them. Now, when you receive the confirmation email, it comes from docs at Nationwide Secured Capital. So if you don't have time because you're driving right now to write down the email address, when you receive the email confirmation, you can just reply and attach the documents because it's going to come to docs at nationwidesecuredcapital.com. And believe it or not, you're going to need to spell it a lot of times because not everybody's a speller. So just make sure to spell it out to them so that they don't send it to the wrong email, because then they're not sending anything. They're just going to get a bounce back and they're going to call in. And then you can say, to kind of just to rush it over, you can ask them when they're going to be sending it over. I don't even ask that. What I do say to them is, by the way, our underwriters can't review the application I just submitted for you until we receive those documents. So if you could, as soon as we get off the phone, just send them over to expedite the process. Okay, great. Well, it was great speaking to you today. We look forward to speaking to you again. And hopefully we'll get the opportunity to invest in your note. Have a great day. Anybody have questions?
So when you said that you're emailing me to her, when you're done with the TA, are you just copying the TA and sending it to her in the email?
Yeah, I go to front and I create an email. Her name is already saved in our contact list, so I just start typing Lourdes. Then on the subject line,
We need to do this?
Only when you get that internal server error, because that means that they're
Okay.
not going to get the complete interview.
Okay.
Doesn't the email already go to her when we hit send to the TA?
Yeah,
but not
it
with
does.
that error.
It does, but she doesn't pay attention to those. She thinks that she has a note on her system. She doesn't know it gave you an internal server error. I always write it at the bottom, but I take the second step, and in addition to saying, when submitting, okay, let's pretend we know how to spell. When submitting the interview online, it returns a internal server error message, and then I do comma, I will send you the details via email. Okay, and then I copy and paste the sent TA message. I put it in an email. The subject line, I always put the caller's name, and then I go, hi, Lourdes. When completing this interview, it returned an internal server error message, so I'm pasting the call details here. Thank you, Serena.
Okay.
And that's it.
We're essentially emailing it to her twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I just want to make sure I was understanding.
Yeah, because basically when it comes to a TA message, they may read that hours later because they're like, I don't know what hour of the day they sit there looking at everything that happened during the day. But when it's a direct email, she looks at it right away because she's like, why are you emailing me? What happened? Does that make sense to you guys?
No, I got it. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So, like, for example, when I get P3 calls, the subject line is something like DOS call or whatever. So whatever subject line she sees, she reads those, like, at the end of the day before going home. But when it's an email like that, she wants to see it right away because she has to manually enter the remainder of the information so the underwriters can get to work.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. A lot of people don't read our emails till the end of the day, like Kent.
Or not at all.
Or not at all, exactly. Like Saburi from Traverse Bay.
Like Premier Athletics.
Exactly. And it's because they're used to that subject line already. They might even have a DOS folder in their email inbox, and it all goes there, and who knows when they read that folder. But if it's a direct email from a staff member, she does read it because she's like, something happened. So anybody have any other questions before the girls have to start working?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I think that makes it easier. I think for me, when I first started here, I didn't even know what a note, and I own a home. I didn't even know what a note was. I didn't know the terminology of note. So, like, I feel like for big new staff coming on, maybe a little more descriptive, informative. What is this? What does this mean? Not because
Well, yeah.
I have all the steps on here. But
when you're
not more
training
definition.
Ash, you can actually go over that and be like, by the way, do you know what a note is? You know what I mean? Just so that they're clear from the beginning.
I know. I'm talking about since I didn't know and I didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like I didn't even know what a note was. So what if I'm out that day or they get a call for the first time or something happens? there's not a definition of what this stuff means on the account.
Right.
So that's what makes the account so scary, because even I had to sit back and go, okay, what's a note? What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's what happened with me, because I never took my first call for them until I started working at home, and I got this. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even understand
Yeah,
that.
because
I know what a car
it's
note
not
is.
on the lower level accounts. It's on the higher level of accounts.
Right.
So, by the way, it is on the account under company info. It says what they do, what they buy, and there's a detail of it.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't say a note is, like, when you hear note.
You need like note for dummies.
Yeah, like note. What is a note? A note is, you know what I'm saying? Like, this tells you what the company does, but it doesn't explain the terminology note. So when you hear note, like
you said earlier, like you said, a note is when somebody owns a property and is, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
that's
basically,
where
the actual definition is on the account, and I just gave you from experience the layman terms, but the actual definition is here. So if maybe in training you wanna go to this page and be like, by the way, I'm going to explain this to you in simpler form, but first let's review what a note is. It's a mortgage note. It's a real estate contract. It could be annuities and other secured cash flow. It's income properties. We also buy notes and payments secured by AB grade properties that most other buyers would not consider. So those are things that have a small balance, poor in credit borrowers. So it is here, but I just gave it to you guys in simple form from working here and wanting to put it in one sentence.
Well, and that's what helps is the simple form, because that's the easiest way for me to relate.
Right.
Same.
So now that's something that Ash will translate in training. She'll go over what it actually means, and then she'll be like, now I'm going to tell you in simple form. In one sentence, this is what it is.
This is what 5 pages tell you.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording here so that everybody who was not here, hold on. All right, saving it to the cloud. I'm going to convert it now so I could save it to my desktop. I don't have files. Whatever, I'll figure that out later. All right, so any other questions?
Still being recorded. Nope, that's it.
Fine. All right. Cancel this. Let me end the meeting, and then it'll ask me if I want to record it. End meeting for all.